My name is Megan Carter. At 34, I've spent most of my life in the shadow of my younger sister, Emily. While I climbed the corporate ladder to become a marketing manager at one of Boston's most prestigious firms, Emily built her empire on Instagram, amassing 250,000 followers who hung on her every perfect post. Growing up, she was the golden child. Straight A's, homecoming queen, the works. I was just Megan, the reliable one, the forgettable one. At least, that's what everyone thought. I never imagined that kneeling at the altar during my sister's wedding rehearsal would be the moment everything changed. But when her new husband Jason leaned down and whispered, "Is she always this pathetic?" loud enough for his sister Vanessa to hear, something inside me finally snapped. Vanessa, never one to miss an opportunity to align herself with power, stood up from her front row seat. She brushed past me with a smirk and announced, "I want to see if she's really that weak." Before deliberately grinding her stiletto heel into my shin, the pain shot through my leg. But it was nothing compared to the years of emotional wounds inflicted by my sister. As I looked up at Emily's satisfied smile, I made a decision that would change both our lives forever. But to understand how we got here, and what happened next, you need to know our story from the beginning. Boston in autumn has always been my favorite. The crisp air, the golden leaves in the public garden, the scent of apple cider from street vendors. It's magical. But that October day in 2024, as I sat in my car outside the Willowbrook estate, where Emily's bridal shower had just concluded, the magic felt very far away. My hands trembled against the steering wheel of my Honda Civic. I could still hear the echo of Emily's voice announcing to a room full of our friends and family, "Megan can't even carry her own groceries. Imagine her trying to carry a marriage." The laughter that followed cut deep. Deeper still was when she pulled out the designer dress I'd lent her, a $2,500 Vera Wang that had maxed out my credit card, and tossed the receipt in the air like confetti. "Look what Big Sister bought me for the honeymoon. She's so generous with her little marketing salary." I'd fled to the bathroom, where our cousin Emma found me 20 minutes later. "Don't let her get to you," Emma had said, rubbing my back as I splashed cold water on my blotchy face. Emily's always been like this. That was the problem. Emily had always been like this, and I had always taken it. The borrowed money never returned. The backhanded compliments, the constant reminders that she was the successful one, the beautiful one, the one our parents bragged about at neighborhood barbecues. I pulled out my phone and texted Emily. "Please, that dress was on my credit card. I need you to pay me back this time." The message showed as read immediately. No reply came. I started my car. But instead of driving home to my modest apartment in Somerville, I found myself heading toward the Charles River. I parked near the esplanade and walked along the water, watching rowers glide across the surface as the setting sun painted everything gold. "Enough," I whispered to the wind. "I've had enough of being underestimated." What Emily didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Megan Carter wasn't just a marketing manager scraping by on a modest salary. 3 years earlier, I'd noticed a gap in the fitness app market. While working at Pinnacle Marketing, I'd conducted research for a wellness client and discovered that existing apps either focused too much on extreme results or provided too little personalization. During nights and weekends, I developed FitFlex, an adaptive fitness application that adjusted to users' progress and limitations in real time. I launched it quietly in 2022, expecting perhaps a few thousand downloads. By the end of the first year, FitFlex had netted $350,000 in profit. By October 2024, my savings account at Evergreen Financial Services showed a balance of $1.2 million. I was also a silent partner in 3 wellness-focused businesses around Boston, including the Blue Oak Bistro's new wellness branch. My modest apartment and Honda Civic weren't signs of financial struggle. They were choices. I lived below my means because I enjoyed the simplicity and was saving for bigger investments. None of my family knew, not my parents, who still sent me $100 checks on my birthday with notes suggesting I treat myself for once, not my cousins, who pitied my single status and career girl lifestyle, and certainly not Emily, who had built her influencer persona partly on being the successful sister with the struggling sibling, a narrative that played well with her followers. I kept my success private partly because I enjoyed the separation between my personal and professional lives. But if I'm being honest, there was another reason. Deep down, I knew if Emily discovered my success, she would find a way to exploit it, claim credit for it, or simply take it from me. As I walked along the Charles that evening, a plan began forming in my mind. Perhaps it was time the world, and my sister, saw the real Megan Carter. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to the offices of Morrison & Associates, a boutique law firm specializing in business and intellectual property law. My attorney, Lucia Morrison, had helped me set up FitFlex's corporate structure and had become something of a mentor over the years. "Megan, this is unexpected," Lucia said as her assistant showed me into her corner office overlooking Boston Harbor. "Is everything all right with FitFlex?" "FitFlex is fine," I said, settling into the leather chair across from her desk. "This is personal." I spent the next hour detailing Emily's history of financial exploitation and emotional abuse. I showed Lucia the text messages, the bank transfers, the borrowed items never returned. I explained how Emily had begun mentioning me in her social media posts, portraying me as the pathetic older sister who couldn't get her life together. "She's monetizing my supposed failure," I concluded. "And yesterday, she humiliated me in front of everyone we know over a dress that she has no intention of returning or paying for." Lucia listened attentively, occasionally making notes. When I finished, she removed her glasses and looked at me with a mixture of professional interest and personal concern. "What exactly are you looking to achieve here, Megan?" "I want to protect myself and my business," I replied. "And I want her to stop using me as content for her brand." "Well, we could certainly prepare a cease and desist regarding her use of your name and likeness," Lucia said. "And if you wanted to pursue legal action for the borrowed money and items, we could do that as well. But given that she's your sister and this involves family dynamics, litigation might create more problems than it solves." I nodded, turning the options over in my mind. What if I want to reveal the truth? About FitFlex, about my financial situation. But I want to do it on my terms, when I'm ready. Lucia smiled. "That's not really a legal question, but as your friend, I'd say that's entirely your right. Just be prepared for the fallout." "I'm thinking about Emily's birthday gala in March. She's planning this elaborate event at the Hamilton Plaza. Influencers, media, the works. She's been talking about it for months." "That would certainly be dramatic," Lucia said with a raised eyebrow. "But let me give you some legal advice in case you go that route. Document everything, every loan, every borrowed item, every defamatory statement, and consider your endgame carefully. What do you want the day after this revelation?" I hadn't thought that far ahead. What did I want? Peace, certainly. Recognition, maybe. But more than anything, I wanted to stop feeling invisible. "I want to reclaim my narrative," I said finally. "And I want her to face consequences for once in her life." Lucia nodded slowly. "Then let's prepare for both the legal and personal implications of that choice." As I left Morrison & Associates that day, I felt a strange mixture of determination and dread. The path I was considering would irrevocably change my relationship with Emily and possibly with my entire family. But as I thought back to the Willowbrook estate, to the dress receipt floating through the air, to the years of diminishment and exploitation, I knew there was no going back to the way things had been. The real question was, how far was I willing to go to stand up for myself? Over the next few months, I meticulously documented every interaction with Emily, every text message, every email, every social media post where she mentioned me. I created a spreadsheet of every financial transaction between us: money lent, items borrowed, expenses she'd promised to cover but hadn't. The total came to nearly $30,000 over the past 5 years. Meanwhile, Emily's wedding preparations consumed my parents' attention. My mother called daily with updates about flower arrangements and seating charts. My father emailed spreadsheets tracking wedding expenses, occasionally adding notes like, Your sister's big day is going to be perfect. We've increased the budget again. I played my part. I attended dress fittings. I helped address invitations. I smiled through the engagement dinner where Emily announced, Megan's handling the bridal shower because, planning events is really all she's good at with that marketing job. Through it all, I continued to build FitFlex. We launched a premium subscription tier that exceeded our revenue projections by 200%. I signed contracts with 2 national gym chains to integrate our software into their member experience. I hired 3 new developers and a COO to manage the growing operation, and still, no one in my family knew. In February, a month before Emily's birthday gala and 2 months before her wedding, I received an unexpected visitor at my apartment. I'd just returned from a morning run when the buzzer rang. "Hello?" I answered, still catching my breath. "It's Vanessa, Emily's future sister-in-law. Let me up." Curious and cautious, I buzzed her in. I'd only met Vanessa a handful of times, most recently at the engagement dinner where she'd spent the evening glued to Emily's side, both of them whispering and laughing whenever they looked my way. She appeared at my door looking immaculately put together in designer jeans and a cashmere sweater. Her dark hair swept into a sleek ponytail. Her eyes widened slightly as she took in my modest apartment. "Wow, Emily wasn't kidding about your situation," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "This is certainly cozy." "What can I do for you, Vanessa?" I asked, choosing not to take the bait. She paced around my living room, running a manicured finger along my bookshelf. "Emily sent me. She needs you to contribute another $5,000 to the wedding. The venue increased their fee, and your parents have already maxed out their budget." I almost laughed. "And why would I do that?" Vanessa turned to me with a practiced look of sympathy. "Because she's your sister, Megan, and because, let's be honest, it's not like you have anything else going on in your life. No husband, no children, just that little marketing job. At least you can be part of something special by helping make her wedding perfect." The audacity was breathtaking. I studied Vanessa for a moment, wondering if she actually believed what she was saying or if she was just Emily's willing accomplice. "I'll think about it," I said finally. Vanessa's expression brightened. "Great. She needs the money by Friday. Cash would be best, but she said a check is fine if that's easier for your budget." She headed for the door, then paused. "Oh, and she wants you to return the pearl earrings you borrowed for your cousin's wedding. She needs them for her something borrowed." "I never borrowed Emily's pearl earrings," I said, genuinely confused. Vanessa smiled thinly. "She said you'd say that. She has pictures of you wearing them." After she left, I spent an hour searching through old photos. The only pearl earrings I'd worn to my cousin's wedding were ones I'd purchased myself from Macy's. They weren't even real pearls. This was a new level of gaslighting, even for Emily. And it confirmed what I'd suspected. The closer we got to her wedding, the more emboldened she was becoming in her manipulation. That evening, I received a text from an unknown number. "This is Daniel, Vanessa's fiancé. We need to talk. Meet me at Blackbird Coffee tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'd only met Daniel once, briefly at the engagement dinner. He'd seemed quiet, overshadowed by Vanessa's vibrant personality. I was intrigued enough to agree to the meeting. The following afternoon, I arrived at Blackbird Coffee 15 minutes early and chose a table in the back corner with a view of the door. Daniel arrived precisely at 2, scanning the cafe until he spotted me. He was tall with sandy hair and the kind of conventional good looks that complemented Vanessa's more striking beauty. "Thank you for meeting me," he said, setting down his coffee and sliding into the chair across from me. "I don't have much time. Vanessa thinks I'm at a client meeting." "What's this about, Daniel?" He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "I overheard Vanessa and Emily talking last night. They were laughing about how they were going to get you to pay for half the wedding by guilting you in increments. 5,000 now, another 7 next month for the flowers, 10 more for the honeymoon fund." I wasn't surprised, but hearing it confirmed still stung. "Why are you telling me this?" Daniel looked uncomfortable. "Because it's wrong, and because—" he hesitated. Because Emily showed Vanessa your credit report. My what? Your credit report. Emily said she used your social security number to run a credit check because she was considering helping you refinance your student loans as a birthday gift. But really, she wanted to know how much she could squeeze out of you. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. That's illegal. I know, and I told Vanessa that. But she just laughed and said you'd never find out. He fidgeted with his coffee cup. Look, I love Vanessa, but this side of her, the side that comes out when she's with Emily, it scares me. They feed off each other's worst instincts. Why not break up with her, then? He gave a rueful smile. We're 3 months away from our own wedding. My family loves her, and most of the time, when she's not around Emily, she's amazing. He looked at me directly. I'm not here to sabotage their friendship. I just wanted to warn you to protect yourself. They're planning something for Emily's birthday gala. Some kind of roast of you in front of everyone. The pieces were falling into place. The gala at the Hamilton Plaza wasn't just a birthday celebration. It was going to be another opportunity for public humiliation. This time, with an audience of influencers and media personalities who would spread the story far beyond our immediate circle. Thank you for telling me, I said. Daniel nodded, already standing to leave. I should go. But Megan, be careful. They're more ruthless than you think. As he walked away, I felt a shift in my resolve. Until now, my plan had been about standing up for myself, about revealing the truth of my success on my own terms. But learning that Emily had stolen my identity to access my financial information changed everything. This wasn't just about sibling rivalry or emotional manipulation anymore. It was about criminal behavior. I pulled out my phone and called Lucia Morrison. It's time to accelerate our timeline, I said when she answered, and we need to add identity theft to the list of concerns. The weeks leading up to Emily's birthday gala passed in a blur of preparation. Lucia helped me file a police report about the identity theft. Though we requested that no action be taken yet, we compiled a comprehensive dossier of Emily's financial exploitation and defamatory statements. We prepared a cease and desist letter and a demand for repayment of all borrowed funds, and I made one more crucial decision. It was time to go public with FitFlex. With my team's support, we prepared a press release announcing me as the founder and CEO, scheduled to go out the morning after Emily's gala. I arranged meetings with several tech publications to discuss the app's success and our upcoming expansion. I even leased office space in downtown Boston, a proper headquarters befitting a company of our size and ambition. Through it all, I maintained my facade with Emily and my family. I attended the final wedding dress fitting where Emily complained that I hadn't lost enough weight to look good in my maid of honor dress. I listened to my mother fret about the wedding budget while simultaneously boasting about the celebrity photographer Emily had hired. I nodded patiently as my father explained, yet again, how they'd refinance their home to help pay for the biggest day of Emily's life. The night before the gala, I received a call from Daniel. They're planning to announce that you're being demoted at work, he said without preamble. Emily told Vanessa that your boss confirmed it. They're going to suggest it's because of incompetence and offer to help you find a new job, some entry-level position at one of Emily's sponsor companies. That's completely fabricated, I said, though at this point nothing surprised me. I'm not being demoted. I figured as much, Daniel sighed. Just be prepared. They've got other surprises planned too, but I couldn't hear all the details. After we hung up, I sent a text to Lucia. Are we ready for tomorrow? Her response came immediately. All systems go. Are you sure about this? I looked around my apartment, at the modest furniture I'd chosen not for lack of funds but for its simplicity, at the laptop where I'd built a $1 million company, at the life I'd created while everyone underestimated me. Yes, I texted back. It's time. The Hamilton Plaza glittered with lights as I pulled up in the Uber. I'd considered driving myself but decided the evening might require a strategic exit, or the freedom to have a celebratory drink when all was said and done. I'd chosen my outfit carefully, a custom-made Marchesa gown in deep emerald that complemented my auburn hair and fair skin, It had cost $3,200, more than I would typically spend on a single item. But tonight was about making a statement. Around my neck hung a delicate platinum pendant containing a small emerald, a gift to myself when FitFlex hit its first million in revenue. The ballroom was already packed when I arrived. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over round tables draped in white linen. A stage had been set up at the far end, complete with a podium and a large screen. A professional photographer circulated through the crowd, capturing candid moments of Boston's social elite mingling with Emily's influencer friends. I spotted my parents near the bar. My father in a rented tuxedo, and my mother in a navy gown she'd mentioned saving for months to afford. They waved when they saw me. Genuine smiles of welcome that made my heart twist with a mixture of love and sadness. Despite everything, they were still my parents. They had just never seen me clearly. "Megan, you look lovely," my mother said, embracing me. "That dress is that designer?" "It is," I said simply. "Well, it must have been quite the splurge for you," she said with a nervous laugh. "But it's a special occasion, after all." My father patted my shoulder awkwardly. "Your sister will be so pleased you made an effort. She was worried you might show up in one of your office outfits." I smiled tightly. "Is Emily here yet?" "She's making an entrance in about 15 minutes, my mother said, checking her watch. "With Jason and Vanessa. Of course, they've hired a videographer to capture it for her Instagram." "Of course they have," I murmured. "I'm going to say hello to Cousin Emma. I'll see you both later." I moved through the crowd, accepting a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. Emma was standing near one of the tall windows, looking uncomfortable in a rented cocktail dress. "Thank God you're here," she said when she saw me. "I've been hiding from Aunt Patrice for 20 minutes. She keeps asking when I'm going to find a husband like Emily did." I laughed, genuinely happy to see my favorite cousin. "Well, you look beautiful. Husband or no husband." Emma's eyes widened as she took in my appearance. "Megan, you look different. Amazing, but different. More confident." "I feel different," I admitted. "Tonight's going to be interesting." Before I could elaborate, the lights dimmed and a spotlight hit the entrance. A voice announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the birthday girl, Emily Townsend, escorted by her fiancé Jason Martin and his sister Vanessa Martin." The doors swung open to reveal Emily in a white sequined gown that seemed designed to evoke a wedding dress, Jason in a black tuxedo, and Vanessa in a red dress with a neckline that plunged to her navel. They posed for a moment in the doorway as cameras flashed, then proceeded into the ballroom to enthusiastic applause. Emily worked the room like the influencer she was, air-kissing cheeks and posing for selfies with guests. She was in her element, the center of attention, exactly as she'd always wanted to be. When she finally reached me, her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "Megan, you made it." She kissed the air near my cheek. "And in a real dress, too. Did you rent it?" "No," I said calmly. "I bought it." Emily laughed as if I'd made a joke. "Well, it looks nice enough, almost like the real thing." She turned to Jason and Vanessa. "Doesn't my sister clean up well when she tries?" Jason smirked, almost unrecognizable. Vanessa's eyes narrowed as she assessed my appearance. "That necklace looks expensive. Is it real?" "Very," I replied. Emily's smile faltered slightly, but she recovered quickly. "Well, enjoy the party. We have quite the program planned." She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper, "including a little segment about you that I think everyone will find very enlightening." They moved on, leaving me to sip my champagne and observe the room. I spotted Daniel near the bar, looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo. When our eyes met, he gave a small nod of encouragement. At precisely 9:00 p.m., the lights dimmed again and Emily took the stage. She spent the next 20 minutes thanking her sponsors, showcasing highlights from her Instagram feed on the large screen, and announcing a new partnership with a luxury skincare brand. The crowd of influencers and social climbers applauded enthusiastically after each self-congratulatory statement. "And now," Emily said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial tone, I want to share something personal with all of you. As many of you know, I have an older sister, Megan. She gestured toward me, and a spotlight suddenly illuminated my position near Emma. Megan has always been, well, let's say she's had her struggles. The screen behind her changed to show a photoshopped image of me looking disheveled and overwhelmed, surrounded by stacks of bills with red past due stamps across them. What most of you don't know is that my sister recently received some very bad news. Emily adopted a look of exaggerated concern. Megan, I wasn't going to say anything, but as your sister, I feel it's my responsibility to help you through this difficult time. I felt Emma stiffen beside me. What is she doing? She whispered. Just watch, I murmured, pulling out my phone and sending a pre-composed text to Lucia. Now, Emily continued, my sister has been demoted at her little marketing job. Apparently, her performance hasn't been up to standard. She shook her head sadly. But I have a surprise for you. Megan, one of my sponsors, Silverstone Consulting, has agreed to interview you for an entry-level position in their admin department. Isn't that wonderful? Let's all give Megan a round of applause for her bravery in the face of career failure. A smattering of confused applause followed. I saw my parents exchange worried glances, clearly hearing this news for the first time. And since we're being honest tonight, Emily continued, her voice taking on a harder edge, I think it's time we address the elephant in the room. My sister has been struggling financially for years. She's borrowed money from me, money I've generously given without expectation of repayment. She's lived in the same sad little apartment, driving the same sad little car, wearing the same sad little clothes. The screen changed again to show a split-screen image. Emily in a luxury apartment on one side, a generic stock photo of a rundown studio on the other. The caption read, Success versus Struggle, a tale of two sisters. So imagine my surprise, Emily said, her voice dripping with false concern, when I discovered that Megan has been hiding money. That's right, everyone. My struggling sister has been pretending to be broke while secretly hoarding cash. I have proof. The screen changed to show what appeared to be a bank statement with my name on it, the same information she'd illegally obtained by stealing my identity. The balance shown was from my personal checking account, $2,743.16. A whole $2,000, Emily exclaimed with theatrical outrage. Money she could have used to help our parents with wedding expenses, or to repay me for all I've done for her. Instead, she's been lying to all of us, pretending she couldn't afford to contribute to family events while secretly saving up. The room had grown uncomfortably quiet. Even Emily's influencer friends seemed unsure how to react to this public shaming over what was, in the grand scheme of things, a very modest bank balance. It was time. I set down my champagne glass and walked deliberately toward the stage. Emily watched my approach with a mixture of triumph and confusion. "What are you doing?" she hissed as I reached the steps to the stage. "Telling the truth," I replied, taking the microphone from her hand. She was too surprised to resist. I turned to face the room of 200 guests, family members, social media personalities, local celebrities, and business contacts. Every eye was on me. For once, I didn't mind the attention. "Good evening, everyone," I began. "For those who don't know me, I'm Megan Carter, Emily's older sister, and I have a confession to make." I paused, looking directly at Emily, whose expression had shifted from confusion to alarm. Emily is right about one thing. I haven't been completely honest about my financial situation. A murmur ran through the crowd. I saw my mother clutch my father's arm. "The bank statement you just saw is indeed mine, though I'm curious how my sister obtained it, since I certainly didn't share it with her." I smiled tightly. "But it's only my personal checking account, which I use for everyday expenses." I nodded to someone at the back of the room, a young woman with a tablet who had slipped in during Emily's speech. She tapped the screen, and the projection behind me changed. "This is my actual financial portfolio," I said as the screen displayed a comprehensive overview of my assets. The FitFlex company valuation, my investment accounts, my ownership stakes in 3 wellness businesses, and my savings account at Evergreen Financial showing a balance of $1.2 million. The room erupted in gasps and whispers. Emily's mouth had fallen open in shock. 3 years ago, I founded a company called FitFlex, I continued. It's a fitness app that currently has over 2 million active users and generates annual revenue of $4.5 million. I own 70% of the company. I glanced at my parents, who were staring at me in complete disbelief. I kept this information private for many reasons, including the desire to build something on my own terms, without family pressure or expectations. But apparently, my privacy was violated when someone, I looked pointedly at Emily, used my social security number without permission to access my financial information. Emily's face had gone pale. Vanessa was whispering frantically in Jason's ear. That's identity theft, by the way, I added. A federal crime? I stepped away from the podium and walked to the center of the stage, addressing the room more intimately. For years, I've allowed my sister to portray me as less successful, less capable, and less worthy than she is. I've watched her build a personal brand partly on the narrative of being the successful sister with the struggling sibling. I've endured public humiliation, financial exploitation, and emotional manipulation, much of it documented in text messages, emails, and social media posts that my attorney has compiled. On cue, the screen changed to show a series of text exchanges between Emily and me, highlighting her refusals to repay borrowed money, her disparaging comments about my career and appearance, and her explicit plans to use my perceived failures as content for her platform. The truth is, I'm not struggling, I'm not failing, and I'm certainly not weak. I turned to face Emily directly. I'm the founder and CEO of a multi-million-dollar company that will be publicly announced tomorrow morning. I've achieved this success while you were mocking my little marketing job and borrowing money you never intended to repay. The silence in the room was absolute. No one moved. No one spoke. All eyes darted between Emily and me, waiting to see what would happen next. Emily finally found her voice. You're lying, she said, but her tone lacked conviction. This is all made up. You're just jealous of my success. I smiled sadly. Emily, your entire influencer career has been built on curated images and carefully crafted narratives. Mine has been built on actual business results. The difference is, I can prove mine. I nodded again to my assistant at the back of the room, who tapped her tablet. The screen changed to show press coverage of FitFlex from technology and business publications, quotes from industry analysts praising the app's innovation, and financial projections for the coming year. Tomorrow morning, a press release will announce me as the founder and CEO of FitFlex, I said. I've arranged interviews with TechCrunch, Forbes, and the Boston Globe. Our new headquarters in downtown Boston will be unveiled next week. I turned back to the audience, many of whom were now filming the confrontation on their phones. I'm not here to shame my sister or to destroy her career. I'm here to reclaim my narrative and to stand up for myself after years of exploitation and abuse. I took a deep breath. And to formally request the repayment of $29,876 that Emily has borrowed from me over the past 5 years, an amount my attorney has documented in detail and will be demanding in a formal letter tomorrow. Emily lunged for the microphone, but I held it firmly. This is my birthday party, she hissed. You're ruining everything. No, Emily, I said calmly. You ruined things when you decided to build your success at my expense. When you stole my identity to access my financial information, when you planned to publicly humiliate me tonight in front of all these people. I addressed the room one final time. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Please enjoy the rest of the evening. The bar is open, and I believe there's cake scheduled for 10:30. I handed the microphone to a stunned Emily and walked off the stage. As I made my way through the crowd, I felt a hand on my arm. It was my mother, tears streaming down her face. Megan, she whispered, is it true? All of it? I nodded. We can talk tomorrow. Mom, I think I need some air right now. Outside in the cool March night, I took a deep breath and let the tension of the past months, the past years, begin to dissolve. I had done it. I had finally stood up for myself, reclaimed my story, and exposed the truth. My phone buzzed with a text from Lucia. "Well done. The cease and desist and repayment demand are ready to go out first thing tomorrow. Call me when you're ready." As I waited for my Uber, I heard the door open behind me. I turned, half expecting to see Emily or my parents. Instead, it was Daniel. "That was," he began, then shook his head, seemingly at a loss for words. "Dramatic?" I suggested. "Justified," he corrected, "and long overdue, from the sound of it." We stood in silence for a moment, watching the city lights. "What happens now?" he asked finally. I considered the question. What did happen now? The truth was out. My company would be public knowledge tomorrow. My family would have to reconcile their perception of me with the reality of my success. Emily would face consequences for her actions, financial, legal, and social. "Now I live my life on my terms," I said, without hiding, without apologizing, and without allowing anyone to diminish me ever again. Daniel nodded thoughtfully. "For what it's worth, I think you've inspired a lot of people in there tonight, including me." My Uber pulled up to the curb, and I opened the door. Before getting in, I turned back to Daniel. "What about you and Vanessa? What happens now?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "That's a conversation for another day, but seeing you stand up for yourself makes me think maybe I need to do the same." I smiled. We all deserve to be seen for who we really are. Daniel, even when it's uncomfortable for those who've benefited from misunderstanding us. As my Uber pulled away from the Hamilton Plaza, I caught a glimpse of the illuminated ballroom windows. Inside, my revelation was undoubtedly still reverberating through the crowd. Emily was probably trying to salvage the evening, to spin my disclosure into something that worked in her favor. My parents were likely in shock, trying to reconcile years of assumptions with the truth they'd just learned. But for the first time in my adult life, I wasn't concerned with how they were reacting or what they were thinking. I was focused on my own path forward, a path I had built through determination, intelligence, and quiet strength that had been mistaken for weakness. Tomorrow would bring new challenges: press interviews, legal proceedings, family conversations that couldn't be avoided. But tonight, as the city lights blurred past my window, I felt nothing but relief and a profound sense of freedom. The woman they had called weak had finally shown her power, and she was never looking back. The press release went out at 7 a.m. the next morning, exactly as planned. By 8:30, my phone was flooded with notifications, text messages from friends and acquaintances who had attended the gala, emails from business contacts expressing surprise and congratulations, calls from reporters seeking comments beyond the press release. I ignored them all and focused on preparing for my first interview of the day, a video call with TechCrunch scheduled for 9 a.m. I had just finished applying my makeup when my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw my parents standing in the hallway, looking tired and somber. I hesitated for a moment, then opened the door. "Can we come in?" my father asked quietly. I checked my watch. 30 minutes until the interview. "Briefly, I have a call at 9. They entered my apartment, my mother looking around as if seeing it for the first time. In a way, perhaps she was. Before, she had viewed my modest living space as evidence of my financial limitations. Now, she understood it was a choice. "We need to talk about last night," my father began, sitting stiffly on my sofa. "I assumed as much," I said, remaining standing. "But I want to be clear. I'm not apologizing for what I revealed. Everything I said was true." "We're not asking for an apology," my mother said, her voice trembling slightly. "We're here to give one." That caught me off guard. In all the scenarios I had imagined for the aftermath of my revelation, my parents apologizing had not been among them. "We failed you, Megan," my father continued. "We've been blind to what was happening between you and Emily. We've been blind to your accomplishments and your strength." My mother wiped away a tear. "When you showed those text messages, those awful things Emily said to you, I had no idea. And to think we've been pushing you to give her more, to support her wedding, when all along she's been treating you terribly. Why didn't you tell us?" my father asked. "About FitFlex, about your success?" I considered the question carefully. At first, because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it on my own, later, because I realized that you and Mom had invested so much in Emily's narrative, the golden child, the success story, that my success might be threatening to that dynamic. "That's not fair," my father protested weakly. "Isn't it?" I challenged. "Last Thanksgiving, when I tried to tell you about a marketing campaign I was proud of, you interrupted me to show everyone Emily's latest Instagram post, at Christmas. When I mentioned I was considering buying property, Mom suggested I should be realistic about my budget and maybe look at studio apartments in the suburbs. Every accomplishment I've ever had has been minimized, while Emily's have been celebrated extravagantly." My parents exchanged pained looks. "We never meant to make you feel less important," my mother said softly. "I know," I acknowledged. "You never meant to hurt me, but impact matters more than intent, and the impact of your behavior, combined with Emily's deliberate manipulation, was that I felt invisible in my own family." My father nodded slowly. "We understand that now, and we want to make it right, if you'll let us." "Have you spoken to Emily?" I asked. They exchanged another look. "She's not taking our calls," my father admitted. "Jason texted to say they're taking space to process everything." I wasn't surprised. Emily had always avoided accountability when things didn't go her way. "What about the wedding?" I asked. "I don't know," my mother sighed. "Everything feels up in the air now. The truth is, we can't afford the wedding she's planned. Megan, we refinanced our house. We've taken out loans. We were counting on your contribution to cover the final expenses." The irony wasn't lost on me. After years of pretending I was the financially irresponsible one, they were now facing the consequences of their own financial overextension. "I can't fix this for you," I said firmly, "or for Emily. Whatever happens with the wedding is between you and her." "We're not asking you to fix it," my father assured me. "We just want a chance to rebuild our relationship with you, to get to know the real Megan, the successful entrepreneur we somehow missed seeing." My phone chimed with a 5-minute reminder for my interview. "I have to prepare for this call," I said, "but we can talk more later this week. I'd like that, actually." They stood to leave, my mother hesitating before stepping forward to embrace me. "We're proud of you, Megan," she whispered. "We should have said that a long time ago." After they left, I sat at my desk and centered myself before the interview. My parents' visit had been unexpected, but not unwelcome. Their apology felt like the first step in a long process of healing and recalibration. The TechCrunch interview went smoothly. The reporter was more interested in FitFlex's innovative technology than in the dramatic circumstances of my coming forward as its founder. I steered the conversation toward our upcoming features and expansion plans, mentioning only briefly that I had chosen to keep a low profile during the company's initial growth phase. After the interview, I checked my phone and found a text from Daniel. "Vanessa moved out this morning. Engagement over. Thank you for showing me what courage looks like." I felt a pang of sympathy for him, even as I recognized it was probably for the best. Breaking an engagement was painful, but entering a marriage with someone who brought out your worst instincts would have been far more damaging in the long run. Around noon, Lucia called with an update. "Emily's agent reached out," she said. "They want to discuss a settlement." "Already?" I was surprised at the quick response. "What are they offering?" "They want to avoid a public legal battle over the identity theft. They're proposing full repayment of all borrowed funds, plus an additional $10,000 for emotional distress. In exchange, you sign an NDA about the identity theft specifically." I considered the offer. "What do you think?" "Honestly, I think they're terrified of what a federal investigation into identity theft would do to her brand. The repayment is fair, but the NDA is problematic. It would prevent you from speaking about a significant part of her behavior. Counter with full repayment, no NDA, and a public apology from Emily acknowledging the financial exploitation. I decided, I don't need the extra 10,000. Are you sure? Lucia asked. You'd be well within your rights to pursue both civil and criminal charges. I'm sure, I said. I don't want this to drag on for months or years. I want to focus on FitFlex and on building the life I want, not on fighting Emily. After hanging up with Lucia, I turned my attention to the flood of emails from investors who had seen the press release. FitFlex's public debut was generating significant interest, with several venture capital firms requesting meetings to discuss potential funding for our expansion. In the midst of responding to these opportunities, a new email appeared in my inbox. The sender was Emily. The subject line, I'm sorry. My finger hovered over the delete button. Part of me wanted to ignore it entirely, to cut Emily out of my life and move forward without the toxicity she had always brought. But another part, the part that remembered building sandcastles with my little sister at Cape Cod, the part that had once loved her unconditionally before the competition and cruelty took over, wanted to know what she had to say. I opened the email. Megan, I don't know where to start. I'm angry and humiliated and confused, but I'm also sorry. So sorry. What you revealed last night forced me to see myself through others' eyes, and I didn't like what I saw. I've spent the morning going through our text history, reading back my own words to you, and I'm ashamed. I've been cruel and selfish and manipulative. The truth is, I've always been jealous of you. You've always seemed so self-sufficient, so confident in who you are. I built my entire persona around being the successful sister because deep down, I've always felt like a fraud. My followers see what I want them to see. The perfect life, the perfect relationship, the perfect career. But it's all curated, all carefully constructed. You built something real. I know an apology isn't enough. I know I've damaged our relationship beyond simple repair. But I want you to know that I am truly sorry for how I've treated you, for the money I took advantage of, for the identity theft, which was unforgivable, and for trying to humiliate you last night. Jason and I are postponing the wedding. We need to step back and reevaluate a lot of things. My agent has already heard from 3 sponsors who are reconsidering our partnership after videos from last night started circulating. My career is in freefall. But honestly, maybe that's what I need right now. A reality check. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that you've made me see myself clearly for the first time in years, and I'm going to try to be better, not for my brand, but for myself. Emily. I read the email twice, trying to gauge its sincerity. Emily had always been skilled at playing the victim when it suited her purposes. Was this genuine remorse, or another manipulation? Before I could decide, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Emma's name. Have you seen what's happening online? She asked without preamble when I answered. No, I've been in interviews all morning. What's going on? Videos from last night have gone viral. #week. No more is trending. With women sharing stories of standing up to family members who underestimated or exploited them, you've become some kind of overnight symbol of empowerment. I sat back in my chair, stunned. That wasn't my intention. Maybe not. But it's happening. And Emily. Emma hesitated. What about Emily? She posted a video about 20 minutes ago. A real one. Not her usual polished content. No makeup, crying, admitting everything you accused her of and apologizing publicly. She said she's taking a break from social media to become the kind of person worthy of forgiveness. I pulled up Instagram on my laptop and found Emily's account. Sure enough, her most recent post was a raw, tearful confession that echoed many of the sentiments from her email. The comments were a mixture of support for her honesty and criticism for her past behavior. Do you think she means it? Emma asked. I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to believe she's capable of change. Another part remembers all the times I've given her the benefit of the doubt, only to be disappointed. What are you going to do? I looked at the email from Emily, then at her Instagram post. then at the TechCrunch article that had just gone live about FitFlex and its previously unknown founder. "I'm going to focus on my company," I said. "I'm going to build the life I want, on my terms. And as for Emily, I'm going to give her the space to prove whether her remorse is genuine or just another performance." After hanging up with Emma, I closed Emily's email without responding and turned my attention back to FitFlex. The company I had built in the shadows was now in the spotlight, and it needed my full attention. In the days and weeks that followed, my life transformed in ways both expected and surprising. The press coverage of FitFlex's secret founder story led to a surge in downloads and subscriptions. Venture capital firms competed to invest, leading to a funding round that valued the company at $30 million. I leased a penthouse apartment in Back Bay with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Charles River. My relationship with my parents evolved slowly. We began having weekly dinners where they asked thoughtful questions about my work and my life. They apologized often, sometimes too much, until I finally told them, "I don't need you to keep saying sorry. I need you to keep seeing me." Emily repaid every dollar she had borrowed, adding a handwritten note with each payment acknowledging specific instances of exploitation. She postponed her wedding indefinitely and moved to Chicago to start fresh, according to my mother. She posted rarely on social media, and when she did, her content was noticeably different, more authentic, less curated, often highlighting organizations that supported women in business. 3 months after the confrontation at the Hamilton Plaza, I received a text from an unknown number. "It's Daniel. I'm in Boston for a conference. Would you have time for coffee?" We met at Blackbird Coffee, at the same table where he had warned me about Emily and Vanessa's plans. He looked different, more relaxed, more confident. "How are you?" I asked as he set down his coffee. "Better," he said with a genuine smile. "The breakup was hard, but necessary. I've had time to reflect on the relationship and realize how much I was compromising myself to make it work. And Vanessa? Last I heard, she's still close with Emily. They're planning to launch a podcast together about growth and authenticity, whatever that means." He shrugged. "I wish them well. Actually, everyone deserves a chance to change." We talked for hours, about his work as an architect, about FitFlex's expansion, about books we'd read, and places we wanted to travel. It was easy, comfortable in a way that surprised me. "Would you like to have dinner sometime?" he asked as we prepared to leave. Not as people connected through Emily and Vanessa, but just as Daniel and Megan? I considered his question. The past months had been focused entirely on rebuilding my professional life and my family relationships. I hadn't thought much about dating or romance. "I'd like that," I said, realizing I meant it. As summer turned to fall, FitFlex continued to thrive. We launched a corporate wellness program that was adopted by major companies across the country. I hired a COO to manage day-to-day operations, giving me more time to focus on strategic growth and product innovation. Daniel and I continued dating, taking things slowly, both aware of the complicated circumstances that had brought us together. He understood my wariness about trust, and I understood his hesitation about commitment after his broken engagement. We gave each other space and patience, building something genuine at our own pace. In September, 6 months after the confrontation, I received an invitation in the mail. Emily was hosting a small gathering at a restaurant in Chicago to celebrate her 32nd birthday. The invitation included a handwritten note. No gifts, no social media, no pretense, just family. "I understand if you don't want to come, but I would love to see you." I called my mother to ask if she and my father were going. "We are," she confirmed. "She's really trying. Megan, the therapy seems to be helping. She's even talking about going back to school to finish her business degree." I considered declining. My life was good now, balanced, successful, authentic. Did I need to reintroduce the complexity of a relationship with Emily? After much thought, I decided to go, not out of obligation or guilt, but out of curiosity and a cautious openness to the possibility of change, both hers and mine. The restaurant was small and elegant, with just one long table set for 10 people. My parents were already there when I arrived, as were two of Emily's friends from Chicago whom I didn't recognize. Jason was noticeably absent, confirming the rumors that their relationship had ended. Emily entered from the kitchen, wearing a simple black dress that was a far cry from her usual flashy style. When she saw me, she froze for a moment, then approached slowly. "You came," she said softly. "Thank you." "Happy birthday," I replied, handing her a small gift, a leather-bound journal embossed with her initials. She looked genuinely touched. "No one's given me a real book in years. It's always been designer things or status symbols." We were seated across from each other at the table throughout the meal. I observed this new version of Emily, more subdued, more thoughtful, listening more than she spoke. She asked questions about FitFlex without a trace of envy in her voice. She showed photos of her small apartment and her part-time job at a local marketing firm, where she was starting at the bottom, learning the business properly. After dessert, when the others were engaged in conversation, Emily leaned across the table. "I don't expect us to ever be close again," she said quietly. "I understand that I destroyed that possibility with years of behavior that can't be undone with a few months of therapy and apologies." "Then why invite me tonight?" I asked. "Because you deserve to see that your standing up for yourself changed more than just your life. It changed mine, too." She looked me directly in the eyes. "You were never weak, Megan, but I was. I built my entire identity around other people's perception of me. I needed their admiration so badly that I was willing to hurt the people closest to me to get it." I nodded, acknowledging her self-awareness without offering the absolution she wasn't asking for. "I'm trying to build something real now," she continued. "Something based on actual work and genuine connections, not image and exploitation. I don't know if I'll succeed, but I'm trying." "I hope you do," I said, and I meant it. As I flew back to Boston the next day, I reflected on the journey of the past year. From the humiliation at Emily's bridal shower, to the confrontation at the Hamilton Plaza, to this tentative, fragile new beginning with my sister. I thought about the business I had built, the relationship I was exploring with Daniel, the healthier dynamic I was establishing with my parents. The woman they had called weak had found her strength not in revenge or dominance, but in truth and boundaries, in standing up for herself. She had created the space for everyone around her to grow, to change, to become more authentic versions of themselves, including, perhaps, even Emily. When my plane landed at Logan Airport, I turned on my phone to find a text from Daniel. "Welcome home. Dinner tonight? I missed you." I smiled and typed back, "Yes, I missed you too." As I walked through the terminal toward the exit, I caught my reflection in a window, confident, poised, at peace. The person looking back at me was neither the invisible sister nor the avenging CEO. She was simply Megan Carter, finally seen and finally seeing herself clearly, weak no more, strong in all the ways that mattered.